Hello, Houston. Hello, world. This is Vicky Cruz with Hero Network. Glad that you can join us here today. Alongside with me today is our co-host, Isaac.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here
High
with
five.
you. Yes.
Isaac is now co-hosting. Along, of course, with Victor. You may have seen Isaac here last week. He did an impeccable job. He and Victor Escalante. And so now he is going to be a co-host for today because we have a special guest. In the meantime, Isaac and I are going to share and provide some updates as to what it was like this past Saturday at Hero and his experience as a coach, a Hero coach. So you can learn more and you can learn how to get plugged in on the Hero movement happening here in Houston. So welcome, Isaac.
Thank you so much. Last Saturday was lost for words because I'm starting to see more familiar faces every Saturday, and like they start to like build a relationship with the students and a friendship with them, and they're starting to open up a little bit, and most of them were like asking questions and like being more interactive and saying that they want to be more helpful, they want to be more respectful at home.
Yeah.
It is good to see that process.
What was your topic this week?
It was to be respectful.
Respectful, right?
Yeah. When was the last time someone was respectful to you, and how did it make you feel?
That was the same room we were at when with Jesse.
Yes.
Right? When
Yes.
Jesse was there, and we had asked someone, Coach Jesse had asked, what can you do to be respectful at home? I was really impressed with the answer when the young Milby Buffalo student said,
Yes.
I can stay silent. He goes, I don't have to argue every case.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
Absolutely. So he said it's sometimes better to be quiet than to respond in a certain way. And that's so true with this age group. And not only that, but we got to act it out.
Yeah.
And say, this is what the response from the mom may look like, and this
Yeah.
is the response of the student may look like.
For sure. We had, I walked because we usually walk in. Both Victor and I will go back into the different rooms, and in this particular case, I walked in, and the question had came up. I mean, although it's good to stay silent, there's also a time where we discussed with the student to be sure not to just suppress the silence in. It is so important that parents have that communication, with their child to be able to go back and, reconnect on the situation. So in this situation, we did talk to the student. Coach Anna and I did some role playing to talk about when is a good time to talk to mom. And I'm really excited because Victor and I, along with other coaches, are going back into Milby High School today, this evening, to teach parents to not just teach, but to help build. I mean, so many families are struggling with communication, struggling with saying no or feeling over obligated, right, to their children's needs because divorce, different situations, right?
Life in general.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So like life, it can be too much at once because we're some people are going into new chapters in life, and sometimes it's new to them. All of that is new, and sometimes they just need the extra help.
Correct.
To manage the family.
It does.
Manage their emotions too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Students need to understand what difficulties there are when you are, being the sole provider, or they're struggling and perhaps they're struggling in a parent dysfunctional home. And so what we want to do is take Hero into a higher level to where it's like, hey, parents, giving them the tools, the understanding, the education that they need. And so what we have been doing is also doing tons of group dynamics with our coaches, teaching them how to speak in a group dynamic session, also to, public speaking. We host a coaching class. So if you're watching this program, we host a coaching class on Tuesday, the last Tuesday of every month. Right now, we have already coached 25 students and 25 coaches. Isaac and our next guest being a coach as well, who both are certified in the coaching program. So we're going to kind of bounce off. High five, Isaac. Awesome job on the coaching. He is actually our senior coach. And so we're really excited about the movement that he is making to become, what all God has intended him to be. Because when I saw and laid eyes on Isaac and every coach that's there here in our hero program, I'm telling you what, I saw there's greatness. Greatness, greatness, greatness. These are voices, escalating voices, and this is what being a hero is about. Next, we are going to interview. Right now, we have with us someone who is a dear friend of the Hero Program. He has an organization. He's running a bail bondsman for Harris County. He runs the Harris County Bail Bonds Association. You've met with him before. We've interviewed him out on the Hero Network, on the Hero at the Mission One USA podcast. Many of you have seen him out there on the Mission One USA events that we have and our Hero events. Let's give it up, hand clap for Mario Garza. High five.
High five. Good morning.
Good morning, Mario.
Good morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thank you for being here with us. Mario has always educated us, has been one of these leaders in the community at the spur of the moments. Hey, we need a call. We need, whatever the case may be, this guy is there.
He's there.
He's there. Yeah. And I thank you for everything you've done for our family, right? The support that you've given us. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. The support that you give us whenever we need tacos or pizza, and the pizza you're going to give tonight. Thank you so much. I want to tell you that first and foremost. You are a valued partner, a valued friend, and a valued coach here in our organization.
Well, being a bail bondsman here in Harris County, I'm almost like a surrogate parent. Kids get in trouble, mom, hey,
Right.
Can you please talk to them? So throughout my 18 years, I've had to talk to people when parents don't feel like they can get through. And that doesn't say I always get through, but I've also developed where their problems are and why they do what they do. And by the time I get a hold of them, they're already in trouble with the law at some point. Children are near and dear to my heart because I've seen the connection with crime, especially as it's rising and the offenders are getting younger.
Correct.
So that's important. And your organization plugs right into that.
So Harris County Bail Bondsman, but you also have your organization, your 501c3. Tell the audience about that.
My organization is called Take Back Our City. It's a nonprofit, and what it is it was created for victims of crime, parents of murdered children, anybody in our community that has been affected by violent crime, murders, robberies, and that was, as I began to see the rise in crime because of the policies in Harris County, it made me afraid and concerned. And what we're starting to see is a slide where victims are not getting a whole lot of voice. And that was what my organization aimed to do, was to help them in any way, whether it be like your organization, whether it's food or items that they need. We're in a legislative session, so if they need to get to the Capitol and want to testify on behalf of certain bills, that's what I want to do. So, again, I guess in a sense, I put my money, my money where my mouth is, right? So that's why it's important, because I believe it's all connected. The parents of murdered children, or my organization is connected to children because they see crime.
Correct.
They're traumatized by it. They go to school. There's fighting. There's all these things that are going on in the community, and it's just a constant rise, but it's all connected, and that's my point. When you first started your Hero program, I remember I was like, this is perfect, because there's a void that needs to be filled, and it's with kids. The emotional intelligence aspect of it, teaching them how to control themselves.
Absolutely. I see Mario as very passionate, very, very passionate about this. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, what was the time where you weren't in the business, right? And you just saw that moment and you said to yourself, this is what I want to do. This is what I'm called to do. What was that moment like?
Well, it's a mixture, but prior to being a bail bondsman, I was a paralegal, criminal and civil. So I worked in some corporate firms, and I was doing that. Mind you, also I'd had a legal, I'd have a criminal record, right? So I'd been in trouble too myself. So it kind of all played out. But what I guess the fork in the road for me was one day I was sitting in my cubicle at this law firm, and I'm making average money, and I'm happy, right? It's a normal life, You go to a clean place and you work Monday through Friday, and but something inside was like, I can do something more. I don't know what it was exactly. I just knew that sitting here for the next 20 years was not where I wanted to see myself. It was actually kind of depressing. And then I was a single father, so I needed to make some extra money. And I figured, well, I go home at night, right? What do? I go home to my apartment. I hang out with friends. I don't really do much. So I got into bail bonds. I started calling bonding companies, seeing who was hiring. I got a call back. Lady hired me on the spot. And I started, and I worked nights and paralegal by day and bail bondsman. But I was encountering people who were like me, who were where I used to be. And that was important. I mean, money's money, and it's important to make money, but for me, I got to believe in it. That's important to me. Everybody's different, but for me, it was always the drive.
So as you're going into that new stage of life, you feel like that was more rewarding towards you, more fulfilling. Would you say that?
Absolutely, because I got to talk about the law. I got to, tell people, when they're new in the system, they don't understand about lawyers.
Nothing.
So they can get ripped off.
100%.
They don't understand a lot of things in the pitfall. So as somebody who wants to do well, I'm not trying to lie to them or cheat them or do anything. I'm just like, hey, be careful what you do, those sort of things. So I was in a perfect place to encounter people who were in trouble, who felt bad about themselves. Parents were disappointed. And I'm like, I get it. It's no fun when your parents have to bail you out of jail.
Hey, Mario, quick question for you. You mentioned something about the policies and what have you and everything going into legislation right now. What are some of the policies that are new? I know that we just ran, we have a new DA now, Shantier. Kimberly left office and Kim Og. And so what are these new policies, or are there any existing policies that were being enforced by Kim Og that are still being evaluated, or did they get changed based on the new administration? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, a lot of the legislation is to fix what's going on in Harris County. We had a bail reform movement in 17 and 18. So all that time, you've seen an overrun in crime, PR bonds, which are free bonds, people are being released. So that drives crime. When you have young people or anybody who's kind of like these small crimes are not being addressed or people aren't being held accountable, they graduate to bigger crime.
Right.
Which is the robberies and the car break-ins and the retail theft. So while there are laws on the books, this is the interesting part of what your question is. While there are laws on the books that give our current district attorney the ability to prosecute crime, he has said locally that he's not going to prosecute certain crimes, number one being trespassing. Okay. I don't understand. Kim Og prosecuted what she could that was on the books. But unfortunately, when you have a magistrate, Kim Og is a DA. Her job is to prosecute. Magistrates and judges are who set bond. So they're the ultimate decision maker on who gets out for free and who doesn't. That is where your problem is. A DA can prosecute all day long, but if you have certain judges that say, you know what, I'll just give you $1 bond or you'll get out for free. On multiple cases, when you're repeat offending, it's interesting because Kim did a report, and her report did it addressed in numbers. It said Harris County has a 500% recidivism rate. That's high.
What does that mean for the audience? Can you explain?
At the rate at which they reoffend. So she broke it down. 95% reoffend within 1 year, 119% within 6 months, and 90 days is 139%.
That's high.
Right. So what you start to see is you see this, they're coming in faster than you can push them out the door, which drives crime up. Not only that, it goes to overcrowding. Now, mind you, Harris County had an overcrowding problem. We always have, but we didn't have the crime to go with it like we do now. So the DA saying that he's not going to prosecute nuisance crimes and trespassing. Now, let's think about trespassing in the sense that you have a house or a business and somebody goes there and doesn't want to leave. Well, if they already know, good luck, call the cops on me because they're not going to come. And if they do, they're not going to prosecute me for trespassing.
Wow.
That can escalate into violence to break your windows, hurt you, because they already are emboldened to know they're not being made to leave. If I'm a business owner and they're unruly in my dining area, or it's a restaurant, and they're making all the other patrons like, this guy won't be quiet, we want him to leave. You ask him to leave, but who's gonna prosecute it? To jump to something that was in the news, our mayor, they did a poll, and 77% of Houstonians don't feel safe to go out at night. So we're in essence being held hostage in our own city at this point. And again, I'm like the mayor. I would love to work with him, but when you say things like, "Well, it's just the media reporting these stories, and it makes it look bad," because crime is really going down. It's disingenuous to say something when we all turn the TV on and all we see is crime, shootings, and
Let me ask you this: when you say crime now, how much more has crime increased this year in 2025 alone? Because those numbers have gone high.
Right. So let me give you an idea. So I pulled some data for 30 days. From February 9th to March 9th, Harris County let out 4,080 people on PR bonds and general order bonds. They're both the same, free bonds, basically. And they're felony and misdemeanors. So
4,080
people
in
in 30 days.
In 30 days.
Right.
That's a lot.
Right.
Okay.
And that's 133 people a day. So to give you some idea, in 2019, we had 30,000 criminal cases in Harris County. By 2022, we had 140,000 criminal cases.
How many?
140,000. So it's triple fold.
Wow.
Why do you think all the dismissals have to happen? It's not because they're innocent. It's because if they don't start dismissing people, the backlog, it's just a game of shuffling now, right? And hoping they don't come back. So that's where we're at with numbers. Current numbers, because Harris, and mind you, all the data that I'm pulling, it's Harris County's data. I'm not making it up. I just pull reports, but I guess they hope nobody reads them. They're with graphs and paragraphs. So when you read in the paragraphs, you got to break out the percentages and start piecing it together to go, wow. So crime grew. So there's two pretrial services reports to give you an idea of your question. So in 2022, there was a report that said that 21,000 people were on pretrial services. 2023's report said there were 61,000 people on pretrial services. So it grew from 21,000 to 61,000. So that's that. The 24's report is not out yet because we're in 25. So I haven't done 24's yet. But it's a public place you can go and you can look at it for yourself. But you gotta go through all the graphs and stuff and crunch it down. I did it before for 17, 18, and 19. And what you found in those 3 years is defendants who were on bond were exponentially grew by 187%. So we're moving in a rate like that.
Well, let me ask you this: Is the crime rate related to the growth rate of Houston? Do you think the growth rate of Houston? Because a lot of people are moving to Houston for affordability. People from out of state because of the taxes. Do you think that's?
Well, actually, let me give you. I'm glad you asked that question because I wrote an article about that. They're running from crime themselves. New York, Chicago, LA, all have the same bail reform policies. So they're leaving to come here because they're running from their own crime problem. All these were rolled out in these cities before Harris County. Harris County was going through a legal fight with the O'Donnell case, but they legislated in their states. That's what was different about Harris County. We were going through, it was a federal lawsuit they were suing the courts, the defendants were. In New York, Chicago, LA, what they did in Atlanta What they did was they legislated in their state. So the legislature said, no, you got to let all these people out. And they did it. And that's why you saw the high crime. New York did it in 2020, January 2020, and 5 months later, they were overrun. Now you factor in the police problem that we've kind of always had. We're understaffed, right?
Yes.
We were just holding on, but then you put in the bail reform policies that crime rose and police now they don't show up. And if they do, it's hours.
Hey, listen, real quick question, because this is what I want to run into. So the top 3 right now, just tell me, like, what are the top 3 crimes that you see here in, in our city or county?
I mean, obviously murder. I mean, we're number 3 for murder in the U.S. now.
Wow.
But you're talking about retail theft, car burglaries. Mind you, what do people break into when they break into cars? They're stealing guns. They're hidden in the car. So car burglaries, domestic violence is number 1.
Yep.
Why do you think you're seeing they're getting out for free, by the way. So why do you think you're seeing the uptick in murder suicides?
free?
Yes, it's either $100 or it's free. But the minimum domestic, I don't know where the domestic violence organizations are. They should be up in arms. It's been going on for 5 years. DWIs, those are the 3.
The top 3 right there.
DWIs, assault, and car burglaries. I mean, aside from murder, but the ones that eventually graduate to the murder.
Correct. And, we're going to shift into now, viewers, we're going to shift into the justice work. Mario spent many years, decades, working in the legal fields and the bail bondsman that pushed him into now being a voice. And we want to know why the voice and what exactly he's done about it to open up a nonprofit that is, growing, just running, and has grown legs, and it's running, and being a voice for many cases out there. And can you just talk about that, like about your program, your justice program, and what made you start your nonprofit?
Number 1, I grew up here, so I was raised in Houston. I really grew up in Pasadena, but point is this is my city, and I care about what's going on with it. And because I got into bail, and because I'd been in trouble, and I understood the accountability factor in everything.
Right.
Whether it's jobs, school, criminals, it's all a factor that holds it all together like glue. And if there's nobody there to enforce it, then it falls apart. I know there's this, but the point is that I got involved because I know it's wrong.
Correct.
The system held me accountable, and I am what reform looks like if you really think about it. I got well, I got better, I built a business. The man I was 20 years ago is not who I am today. But that was through accountability. Do you like to sit in jail? Of course not. But that was passionate to me in that I can teach that. And I used to have a place there when we would bond people out, but when you're letting them out for free, nobody has anything to say to them. So it became a passion. The nonprofit was the legal way to say that I have something that's tangible that people can say, well, if you believe in it so much, then this is real. You can get donations. You can spend it on the victims for their needs. It's very important that when you're talking to victims, and I've been going to Crime Stop Parents of Murdered Children for 4 years, and they didn't like me at first because they were mad at bail bondsmen. So they were distrustful of why is he here and what does he want. So let me tell you something about victims. You cannot play with their trust.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot play with that.
Yeah.
You never sell them out no matter what. Whether you run for office or whatever it is you want, if you got some other ulterior motive, they will sniff it out and they will never forgive you.
Mario, what's the name of your organization?
Take Back Our City.
Take Back Our City.
Yes.
Very powerful.
Yes, because I want it back.
Correct.
I believe that it belongs to the people.
I want it back too.
I know that's right.
They deserve to go to the parks. They deserve to go out at night. They deserve to go to the bank and not be fearful of what's going to happen to them. We're like sitting ducks.
Right now, we've said a lot. There's a lot that we've just covered. The increased crime rates. We've talked about voices and creating solutions. And, everything starts and it stems with the seed, right? Whether it's negative, positive seed. And we're going to have a caller call in here shortly. And I was on the phone with her this past week a couple of times. She's been on our show as well. She's been on our show, and I think that it's a perfect time. She's going to call in because of the justice on her granddaughter, Jocelyn and Gary. I know that
Yes.
you worked close with the case too as well, and Jocelyn's grandmother, Jocelyn, if anyone remembers, was the 12-year-old, 13-year-old that was murdered right here in North Houston, Aldine area. She was found dead. Little Jocelyn they found her dead. She had been just raped, abused by two. They made it really just nationwide Venezuelans that were here. And so her father, many of you may not know this, is incarcerated right now. During the time of her death, I was reached out and had connected through a friend of mine who's cousins with the grandma, who connected, and I said, "What is it that you need?" And she said, "I want my son home." Christopher Gonzalez is the father of little Jocelyn. And since then, and thank God, he was home. It was work because many people said it's impossible. Many state representatives had said no, and they were like, "You can't happen." It was on a Monday when we started making the calls. Her funeral was Thursday. They're here at Earthman, locally down the street off the North Freeway or East Tex Freeway. So we kept getting the no's, and we kept getting we just kept getting the no's. And so I'm calling her now, and she's going to be calling in. I'm telling her which number to call in because she wants to be a voice for this program. And so Jocelyn's grandma had, requested that Jocelyn's dad come home and be here because he was going to be granted visual. And so now there's more work, and I'll connect with you later that we're working on. The father makes it to the funeral, but there's more work, and we'll connect with you on that kind of we're working on. But let's see here where she's at. But I wanted to just introduce you, 997-83997-2728. Yes. So she's calling in now because I want to do a quick little introduction with Jocelyn and Gary. You know about the case. You want to share anything on that one?
I mean, it's a symptom of the crime problem. I deal with.
She's on?
Hello.
Hey, I'm so sorry. Tina.
Yes.
Tina, how are you? Tina, this is Tina Guevara. She is Jocelyn's grandma.
Yes.
Jocelyn, thank you. I'm so sorry. Tina, thank you so much for being on the show, for being here again.
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Tina. Good
Yes,
morning.
I want to thank you
Good
too.
morning.
Yeah, talk to us. How is Chris? How are the two, because you have Jocelyn has a little brother, right? Two brothers?
Two little brothers. Yeah, two little brothers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they Chris is, he's trying to hang on, and I talk to him every day. Try to give him good advice and tell him just keep his head up, he'll be out soon to be here with his kids because they need him, and I talk to him about everything.
Can you share
And
with the audience?
I want to
Go ahead.
Huh?
You
I
want
want to thank you, Vicky Cruz, for being there and getting him to be there at the funeral home. That was amazing and a blessing.
Well,
So
that
I
was
wanna
all
thank you
God.
for
That was
that.
all God, because we were just
Yeah.
talking about that it was just no after no after no.
Yeah.
And I was, working with Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia, our LULAC Johnny Mata. I had been calling the hardship department, every department in TDC.
Yes.
And I remember that during that week, he was transferred. Remember when he was
Yes.
transferred that week, we were working with the warden. We went to the
Yes.
second warden. There was that one Tuesday, we didn't even hear from him.
Yes, that's true.
And in the Wednesday, we found out where he was at.
Yes.
So then it was the Thursday morning, Johnny Mata says, are we still going to push through this case, to get the father home?
Yes.
It's 8:30. Now, keep in mind, he was, what prison was he at the time?
Uh,
It starts with a P.
it was Michael Union because it was there in well,
It was 3 hours
it was
away.
close to there. Yeah.
It was about
Yes.
3 hours away, and we said if we do not get him home or on the road at 10 o'clock, he will miss the 1 o'clock funeral,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. And that was like when I got that call from you. Oh my God. It was just amazing and a blessing, like I said, because I was getting the video ready, and they're like, "That's when you call." No, 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 he's coming out. And I was like, "Oh," I was thanking God, thanking you, and everybody that was behind it.
Yes. And so we made few phone calls, and this is when, it just all worked together where I was pleased where my, friends in Congress worked with the state
Yes.
friends, and everyone just worked together, and the call was received in. So in the meantime, thank God he made it. And I know that we're working alongside with the family of Christopher Gonzalez to make some other moves in transition. So in the meantime,
Yes.
I look forward to speaking to him again. And in the
Yes.
meantime, can you share with me and share with the audience, and then I'm going to let Isaac and Mario chime in.
Yes.
Share with them how what you've learned or what advice you have for parents of our youth.
Yes. Yes. I look at it like, you need to be close to your kids, where the kids won't be scared to talk to you about things, because there's a lot of things that go on with the children, and they're scared to speak out, in the family. Sometimes the parents don't know what's going on, and that's a great help to do that, to be close to your kids and always know what they're doing, because it's hard, because I didn't know what was going on with Jocelyn. I was never told like what was going on. To me, she was my little granddaughter. She was a child. She was still a child, you know, and it's hard.
And
It's like,
yeah, and I know that right now, do you believe, may I ask you, do you believe that justice has been served for the life of your granddaughter?
not yet.
Not yet. I know. It's not yet.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
Did you hear about that case, Isaac, about the little one?
I did not.
You did not hear
I did
about
not
that?
hear about that case.
Yeah, it was just a tragic, tragic case. And I know that Alexis, the mother, has gone around the United States. It's working close with
Yes.
the president in regards to this issue. Is there anything you want to share about that?
I mean, it hurts, because, my grandson's 10 years old, and he sees everything on the news, and I try not to let him be on the TV like that, but he cries and he don't forget. It's already going to be a year in June, and my baby still cries for her.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, he just like, it's not, I said, it's okay, baby. He said, no, it's not, Grandma. She's not going to come back. you know?
I know.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know, Tina. It's very painful. It's very painful. And I wish I was there to give you a hug, but I know we've talked about connecting and working alongside to get Dad home with the other two. Because I
Yes.
know Chris himself. Talk to us how Chris is doing
Yeah,
emotionally.
he needs a visit, but it's hard because I don't have transportation, and he's almost 3 hours away, and that's why the transfer would be great. Where I could get somebody to take, because he misses his kids, and he said, "Mom, I need a visit." I said, "I'm sorry, I'm trying,
Yeah,
But he
we
calls the kids every day and talks to them.
Yeah, so I have been working close with Tina to get a transfer. We requested a transfer from his unit to the Vance unit, which would make it a lot easier for her to drive
Yeah.
to the Vance unit, which is locally, because Tina's in a position where she's caring for her mom, caring for other loved ones, and including herself. Okay. And she does work a full-time job. And so she's sometimes very tired, and like she said, she
Yeah.
doesn't have the transportation to go out there for 3-hour drive to see her son, who really desperately needs, some support, emotional support. I mean, he's grieving. And I mean, just in the prisons he's in right now, I mean, there's so much chaos. I spoke to you this
Yes.
morning. And so going back to getting that transfer, the hardship, it was denied to get the transfer. He's now in a new unit. The father is. And so we've created another appeals letter, working with Senator Flores and others. But in the meantime, hang tight, Jocelyn. I mean, oh my gosh, why do I keep saying Jocelyn? Tina. Oh,
My baby's
sorry.
with us right now.
Exactly. I'm like, wow,
She's
why I
with
keep
us.
saying Tina. I talk to Tina all the time. So Tina, just hang tight, Pop.
Yeah.
Mama. We're gonna
Yeah.
we are going to continue to work this. We will not
Yeah.
stop. Okay. In the meantime,
thank you.
I want to introduce you to Mario Garza. He is with the program that's called, he's got an organization, Take Back Our City. Listening to this case, listening to what's happened, and yet the fact, there's more that's got to be done for this life. What do you have to say to this mom who's on the other side, crying, and grandmother?
Well, what happened to her granddaughter is a symptom of the policies. That's why there's legislation and why they're having to fight to have immigration issues addressed at the local level, because you have a sheriff's department that says, and I've seen this as a bondsman years, where they'll get a free PR bond, right? They've got an immigration hold. So why are you giving them a free PR bond for them to just get transferred over to immigration? And there was no consistency on who they would put holds on and who they would not. So it wasn't an automatic thing. You just didn't know. You just took a chance. And so with that's what's crazy about what's going on with legislation, is that you have to actually go to Austin and legislate something they could do at the local level if they wanted to,
Yes.
which is to address illegal, undocumented people that are here or that are committing violent crimes. So again, it's a symptom of a lot of things that have just spiraled out of control. Unfortunately, and I say this because I see it with my own eyes, but there are those people that come to your rescue and grieve and say they care, but they're behind those policies. And you don't always know it because you don't know any better. But I've stood in rooms and I'm like, man, I wish I could give you an Academy Award because you really put on a really good show, to make these victims think that you really care about them. And a lot of them are upset now. So again, this is a symptom of something that, now whether or not it could have truly been prevented, I would say I hope it could have. But with the news cycle and the way this story's run, there's a lot of murder here.
Yeah, there is.
Yes,
And
there is.
and the thing too, though, and that's why Hero's here. Hero is here. And it is a solution. I believe it is a solution. It's a movement for situations like this, because what we are doing together, including with Tina, is doing an outcry, a cry out of saying, we've got to work together as a village and be our brother's keeper, right? That's one. Number two, what Hero does is a growth mindset. You know how I wish we could have had a Jocelyn or my little sister, right? At all case, or anyone who's out there that can't be a own hero. How to ask for help when there needs to do that. And, we have to get into the hearts of these young children. That's second, right? Being the brother's keeper, taking the village. And the second thing is having and teaching our children, making it mandated by our state to say, it's important right now more than ever. And not only that, but taking it further, like we're doing it today, the coaches and every single one of us here in the Hero program, and speaking to parents of distracted, I don't like calling them at risk, but building bonds, creating foundations, and strengthening families is what it's about. And so when we can come together to bring those resources into the families, to understanding why, children can talk to mom, they can talk to grandma, knowing that they're safe spaces, can disregard that. I mean, because we've got to learn how to be that hero, Mario.
Well, as a single father and running a business, and the business that I had, that was influential on my daughter now. She's 23. And she used to sit in my office and do her homework while criminals were coming in and out. And she would ask me, what did that person do? And what did that? And I would tell her, jail's a real place. And you can go there. And so I had a lot, and there were things as a father, when you're talking to a daughter, there are things you don't want to hear because, you know, it's uncomfortable, but I had to learn to forget about being uncomfortable and let her openly tell me, hey, you know, I got a problem with a boy, or I like a boy, or I have certain things I think about, you know, whatever, you know, and I just had to be open because she didn't feel comfortable talking to her mother. So I had to become both. And I had to let go of being like judgmental, right? And I think that's where a lot of kids are. They're afraid to open up because what are they going to think about me? Well, you know, who wants to disappoint their parents? So
Nobody does. Nobody
right.
does. Yeah.
And so there's a lot of secrecy. That's how I got in trouble, because I was living with a lot of things I wasn't telling my parents. And finally, when I couldn't lie anymore, like I couldn't lie, it was just choking me up, right? That I became honest and I said, you know what, Mom, I messed up a lot, and I'm sure you probably, and you'll get it. You're not fooling anybody anyway, the lies, but that was where the honesty came and said, hey, I got to talk.
Right.
You know, I got to tell you that I've lied a lot and I'm not proud anymore of myself. And that, you know, the thing that I think is important and what I like about your program is that we live in a world where money, and it's good to make money, but what I like is that we're getting into the moral compass of right and wrong, and don't sell anything for that.
That's the plan.
Make money, be successful, but don't give up who you are, what you're about, because there's people that will buy that throughout your life. They'll tell you, I know, I've been there in business, and I'm like, no, I couldn't do that. And I lost a lot of money saying no. And I always make a joke of it. And I say, I'm probably going to die poor, but that's the compass.
Mario, I want to ask you a few questions just as we're closing this segment. I wanted to ask you, what's the first step towards a solution after everything that we spoke about today? What is, in short words, what is one step closer to some type of a solution? And what do you want to tell the families is sitting and watching this program right now?
Or let's do this really quick.
Yes.
Let's get Tina, Miss Tina.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we got to get Miss Tina. So what? Let's just to piggyback on what Isaac said. You want to ask her a question? What would you say?
Tina, what do you want to tell to the families and the people watching this program? What's something that's on your
You
heart?
know, just pay attention to your children and, you know, be close to them, what's going on. Sometimes people feel like they don't have to, things go every day, you know, like you don't know what your child's doing. Like the other day, my granddaughter missed her bus and her phone went dead. I'm like, oh my God, my heart just dropped. We didn't know where she was at. She walked home and I seen her in the corner. Oh my God, I was running off. That was like, but you have to know, you know, take care of your children. I know it's hard sometimes where they can get home from school and I see little girls walking and I just think, you know, like how the parents going to let them do that. But I know sometimes they can't, you know, but just be aware of where they're at, what they're doing, you know, and talk to them.
Right, being more
Because
involved
like
in their
you
lives.
said, you don't say nothing until later when you grow up, because I've had that with my children. They tell me, oh, I did this a long time ago. And I'm looking at them like, I didn't even know that, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah, be close to your children.
Yeah. Isn't that the truth?
Children
And
close to the moms. Yeah.
my mom had little, like, okay, so now we're going to thank you. So Tina, thank you
you
so
so much,
much.
Tina.
Thank you
Thank y'all.
so
Thank
much.
you
And I'll
very
see you
much.
soon.
God is with you and your
Okay.
family. I know that for a
Thank
fact.
bless
you.
you
Thank
always.
you very much.
Thank you, Tina. And so Mario, you're next. Give the audience information, and like Isaac said, I mean, what would you
Just
want?
tell us, what is the first step towards a solution after everything we spoke about? What does that first step look like?
Well, number one, the people that are in charge got to quit saying things like crime. They're the leaders. They're the people that make policy. They've got,
Accountability and honesty.
right,
Okay.
and it's our duty as public people to call them out, not to offend, not to be ugly or rude, but it's the truth.
Right.
And people seem to pivot around that. You know, it's all aligned against. And again, I deal with both Democrats and Republicans because I believe that public safety is a nonpartisan issue to me. I want everybody to be safe.
100%.
So I'm going to call anybody out, not because I want to, but because people are dying behind the things that you are saying and not confronting.
And like, you know what's on my mind just very shortly is that when you are honest and with transparency, the soil is pure. The soil can now be purified and something can grow out of that.
Correct.
So the people who are watching, who is in charge, let's be honest, let's be accountable.
Correct.
Not just for us, but for our people around us, because we want to be safe.
So there we have it. Really
Yes.
quick. What is your website? Any information you want to give to our audience?
You can basically go to takebackourcity .com and it'll come up. Take Back Our City, exactly how it's spelled, .com, and you can visit the website. I'm still putting up things like pictures with families and things like that, but there's a donation spot, $5, whatever you feel. Again, everybody's struggling. It's not about money, but it's about a message. And I hope that I'm trying to put together a one-day event for the community. So everybody can come out. We get our leaders there, we get the people, and we have a conversation.
Correct. And so he'll have more information on that. Mario Garza, visit him on Facebook, social media, and we'll have more information out there. In the meantime, I know that we've got to log off, and we thank you for watching this segment. We ask that you please share this segment with us. Invite your friends to like Mission One USA. And again, we invite you to come and be a part of the Hero Coaching Program. Okay, there's so much happening. Stay tuned, stay plugged in. We love you, and we wish you the best. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.